Hi, welcome to a new tutorial. We had a request to show how we can make a cluster of nanoparticles. Here you can see a graphical representation of what we are going to make. You can see nanoparticles with surface ligands, which is undergoing an assembly to create this nanocluster. Here you can see two different cases. This one is very random. Nanoparticles are arranging in random fashion. They are using some template which makes it uniform, something like this. So we will have a look at both cases. How can you create a random arrangement as well as a uniform arrangement, something like this. Alright, we have a new project file open here. This is Blender. So in this example, you will learn how to use particle system. Particle system is nothing but a system of particles, as the name suggests. If you have an object, you can distribute that object in certain fashion. It can be distributed on a surface, it can be distributed inside a container, however you want. So in this example, we have an object which is a nanoparticle. We will distribute that inside a sphere. Okay, let's have a look at that. So let me delete this cube, press X, delete. So let's add a sphere, Shift A, Mesh, UV sphere. So this can be our nanoparticle. So you can see these grid lines. You can remove that by right click and choose Shade Smooth. Select this move tool and move this sphere to one side. Add one more sphere, Shift A, Mesh, UV sphere. So we'll distribute this individual nanoparticle inside this sphere. So let's reduce the size of this sphere first. Press S and move the mouse like this. So you can adjust the size, increase or decrease. Now this size looks fine. So now we are going to use particle system. Click this sphere, go to particle settings. Here you can see a menu under this banner icon. Select this particle system and add a particle system on this sphere by clicking this plus icon. Now if you go to wireframe mode, you can see the particles inside. Right now you can only see one particle here. Now we want all particles to present at one time, right? So if you press play by pressing spacebar, you can see that this cube is emitting particles. So that is how it goes. And you can see the animation below by expanding this timeline. So we want all the particles to remain constant inside the sphere. Also we want all the particles to present at the same time. For that, select this. Let's go to 0th frame. Select this slider and go back to 0. Or you can click this icon, jump to endpoint. Now you go to particle settings. There you can see under emission, frame start and end. Change the frame start value from 1 to 0 and frame end value from 200 to 0. Now you can see all particles present here. So basically we said to Blender, show all particles at the frame 0 itself. We don't want particles to be emitted across time. Now what we are going to do, these all white circles are particle points. These are random points. You can replace all those points with your nanoparticles, which is nothing but the sphere here. This is our nanoparticle here, right? So select this sphere and under particle settings, you can see an option called render. Expand that menu. There you can see render as. By default, it will be halo. Select this drop down menu, change that to object. Now you need to choose which object Blender can use to instance all those points. Blender will use that object to replace all those points. So here you can see instance object, you can see an eyedropper tool. Select this eyedropper tool and click on this sphere. Or you can click inside this box which will open all the available objects in the scene. You can see sphere here. When you select that, this sphere will be added there. So now if you look closer, you can see all those points were replaced by small spheres. That is our instance object. Now if you increase the scale here under render, you can see that it is getting some size. If you go to viewport shading, you can see all the spheres here. Now you can see the sphere which we are using as a template to distribute all this nanoparticle is visible. To hide that, go to viewport display and uncheck show emitter. Now the template sphere is not visible. If you activate that, you can see that sphere is there. And also uncheck show emitter under render so that it won't be visible in your final render as well, the illustration that you are going to make. So uncheck that. Now you can see this nanoparticle is forming this cluster, but all the particles are arranged on the surface. We want all of them to be distributed inside the sphere. So select the sphere, and under particle properties you can see an option called source. You can see emit from. By default it will be in phases, which means if you select this cluster and go to edit mode by pressing tab, you can see phases of the parent sphere, the template that we are using. Now the particles are being emitted from all those phases. We want particle to be emitted from the volume of the parent sphere. So select this drop down menu, change it to volume, and go back to object mode, press tab. You can see that all those particles are being confined inside the sphere. Now we have symbol cluster. Now let's add some colors. Select this individual nanoparticle, go to material properties. Here you can see new, click on that, which will add a new material on top of this. There you can see base color, which is for changing the color of the sphere. Select this and you can change the color what you want. Let me choose some red color. Now you don't see any effect. For that, switch to material preview mode, basically viewport shading mode. In that mode you can see all the colors present on all objects. Now let me add a plane so that you can see everything clearly. Shift a mesh plane, increase the scale, press S and move the mouse, and let's move this down so that we have a background to make things clear. Now go to render preview mode. Here you can see fourth one, viewport shading, which will show how object will appear in your final illustration. Now we have a light source here, you can see. Let me duplicate that, shift D and move the mouse to move the light to other side. So we have light coming in other direction as well. Duplicate it again. Alright, this is fine. Now you can see the nano cluster clearly. This is how you make a nano cluster. Now to create the final illustration, you can orient the camera in the direction you want. Ctrl-Alt-0 is the shortcut. What does that mean? You can look around the cluster in any direction you want and choose an angle that you are happy with and press Ctrl-Alt-0. Then the camera will be automatically aligned in that direction. Or you can go to view and go to align view and choose align active camera to view. For that you have to select the camera first. Now you can see the camera is here. Now you can see there is not enough space below the nano cluster. You can select this menu here and go to view and lock the camera. Under the view lock you can see lock, activate camera to view. Now if you zoom in and zoom out, camera will remain constant there. Even if you look around the object, camera will remain constant there. Now you can orient any direction you want. To move the entire screen, you can see a hand icon here. Click on that, hold the mouse key, and you can arrange in any angle you want. If you want a simple illustration of this nano cluster without any background, you may not want to add this plane. Select this plane, press X, delete. Now if you look through the camera, you can see there is no background, but there is some gray color. You can deactivate that. Go to render properties here, and below you can see film, expand that. There you can see an option called transparent. If you check that, now you can see there is no background. If you click render image, click on that, it will show you the final illustration. Now you have a nano cluster, just like that. Now you can even add more details like surface ligands for this nanoparticle. Select this nanoparticle and go to particle properties and add one more particle system on top of this nanoparticle. Click on this plus icon and change the particle system from emitter to hair. Now what just happened? This nanoparticle got a hair particle system. Hair particle system will add some hair structures on the surface of the sphere or any object that you are selecting. And let me reduce the number of these particles. Here you can see 1000. I will go with 200 for now. And you can also reduce the size of these hair particles. You can see hair length here. I will go with 0.05. Now you can see these small surface structures that can be considered as ligands. Now you can see this nano cluster with nanoparticles with ligands on the surface. You can add a different color for the ligands. For that, select this nanoparticle, go to material properties here, click on this plus icon and add a new material and change the color here. And now go back to particle properties. This is important. There you can see material under render. Select this drop down menu and choose material 2. Now if you look closer, you can see that all those surface ligands has yellow color. Now if you look at this nano cluster, you can clearly see that. If you want to reduce the number of ligands, simply select this and come back to particle properties, reduce the number here, maybe 100. That also is fine. That's how you do it. Now you can make all the changes here if you want. In this particle system, you can see scale under render. If you increase the scale of the nanoparticle will increase. If you want to change the distribution of these nanoparticles inside, you can play with these factors. Jittering amount, if you increase the amount, you can see that it is changing the distribution. And also you can see a value called particle per phase. If you increase that value, you will get different distributions like this. So let's have a look at the second option. How can we distribute all the nanoparticles on the surface of the parent sphere so that we will get a distribution like this? For that, select this nano cluster and under source, change emit from volume to vertices. Now the particles are being emitted from the vertex points. That's why we have all nanoparticles on the surface. Uncheck this random order and increase the number of nanoparticles here. Now you can see all the nanoparticles are being distributed on the surface and we have a uniform distribution, something like this. So number of the vertex points on the parent sphere and also number of particles here should be same. Let's try higher number, 650. Now you can see it is covered all over the surface. I think this green color is not looking good. Select this nanoparticle and go to material properties and change the color back to maybe yellow for now. Yeah, now you can see the cluster. Alright, I hope you learned the possibilities of creating nano clusters of nanoparticles using particle system. So basically you can apply the same concept for distributing any single object into a group of objects. It could be on the surface of a template or inside a template, a carrier. It could be sphere, cube, anything. That's how you can create an assembly. The same idea can be used to create nanocrystals as well. So if you have any specific request, you can let me know in the comment section. See you in the next tutorial.